Hey everybody, F-Bomb Fitzgerald here, and today I want to talk about situational weapons generally and the Huo-Long heater specifically. It's worth clarifying what exactly I mean by a situational weapon. I define a situational weapon as any non-meta weapon which is viable in some situation. Notice I said viable and not better than or even equal to. Yes, I'm literally setting the bar as low as, can you use this weapon in some situations? And remember, not all situations are equal. Take the lock and load, for example, or the direct hit. With both of those weapons, the specific situation where they're viable is when the opposing team has lots of enemy buildings. Luckily for those weapons, that's a fairly common situation that comes up pretty regularly. The Huo-Long heater, on the other hand, is viable in very specific situations. It just doesn't come up as often. That said, with the Huo in particular, the specific situation where it's viable, again, not better than stock, not even equal to stock, but just usable, is on payload attack, which is why I've chosen to use this background footage. Note that this definition leaves out some weapons entirely, like the Sun on a Stick, for example. That weapon is never viable, even in the quote-unquote ideal situations for it. So with that weapon in particular, the only time it would be better than stock is if you're facing an opponent who's already on fire and you have run out of your primary ammo and your secondary ammo. That situation is just never going to happen, and even if it does, you're still probably not going to win the encounter. So let's talk about the Huo-Long heater specifically. This is a weapon that I feel is greatly misunderstood by everybody. Before I get on my soapbox here, let me just get my credentials out of the way. I'm not a heavy main, and when I do play heavy, the Huo is probably my second least used heavy primary. That said, I do have over 800 kills on my strange one and over 100k damage on it, so it's not like I just picked up the weapon or I'm speaking theoretically. I've got extensive experience with it, so I feel confident that I can back up my opinions. So let's start off by talking about the supposed strengths of the Huo-Long heater. Don't get me wrong, not a lot of people will call the Huo overpowered or even good, so I don't feel like I need to spend a lot of time on this. The main strength of the Huo is the plus 25% damage on burning targets. The reason this isn't a very powerful strength has more to do with the ranges at which heavy is most effective. So as heavy, the closer you are to your opponent, the more damage you're going to do. And with any of the miniguns, if you're up close and personal, you're just going to shred through enemies. Conversely, when you're at a distance, you're only going to do slight chip damage with any of the miniguns. So with the Huo-Long heater, even when your opponent is on fire, you're not going to be killing them that much faster at long range because you're going to do, 4 damage instead of 3 damage, or at close range because you'll kill them in 1 second instead of 1.1 seconds. Really, mid-range is the only area where you see this weapon kind of shine, and even then, it's nothing that's going to change your life. Conversely, the damage penalty of minus 10% that's on this weapon isn't as bad as it sounds. It's not like the Natasha's minus 25% penalty, where you really notice you're killing fewer people. You're still a 300 HP class, usually with a little bit of a pub pocket, and you're going to be shredding through enemies if you've got good tracking. The other supposed weakness that everybody brings up with the Huo-Long is that the Ring of Fire doesn't deter spies because they can just jump over it. While that's absolutely true, I also feel like that misunderstands the whole purpose of the Fire Ring. The ring may not deter spies, but it's really useful in high traffic areas where lots of people are running through, such as the cart or choke points or doorways, and you'd be surprised how often it'll get you assists or stop an enemy from chasing a teammate. Also, when you're playing on a payload map, if you stand on the payload, that Ring of Fire can actually do a decent job of keeping spies off of you. The true biggest weakness of the Huo is how fast it consumes ammunition, and that's why it shines on payload offense, because the cart keeps you restocked all the time. As you can see in this footage, you can even venture off the cart for limited amounts of time, just coming back to stock up on ammo. And even if that wasn't the case, half the time you're playing heavy on payload offense, You're humping the card anyway because that's your job, regardless of which minigun you're using. Don't get me wrong, I'm not claiming the Huolong is better or even equal to stock or Tomislav on payload offense. All I'm saying is it's viable, and I appreciate that. With the lack of significant gameplay updates from Valve, I embrace any variations I can in the playstyle. Let me know in the comments what you think of the Huolong and what you think of this kind of video as well. Thanks as always for watching. Have a good one.